Airwolf. Won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X-Files. Welcome to The Gen X-Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about
Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
Not revenge, baby.
No.
Not revenge.
Because the Jedi doesn't have revenge.
Well, no, he doesn't. You could say that as snarkily as you want, but part of the Jedi code.
I realize.
Hate, fear leads to hate. Wait. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate,
Right.
hate leads to the dark side.
Sadness. And sadness leads to eating ice cream.
Sadness leads to ice cream. Ice cream leads to love handles. Love handles
There you go.
lead to the dark side.
Yeah. And then you're... All right. That was really good. That was really funny. Yeah, Return of the Jedi. Well, we'll talk about it later, but I do find it really funny that Lucas was so easily swayed to be calling it Revenge of the Jedi, even though he wanted to call it Return of the Jedi, and then it wasn't until very late into it that he changed it.
I mean, it's a stronger title.
Revenge of the Jedi?
Yeah, it sounds cooler.
I disagree. I think Return of the Jedi sounds better.
Return of the Jedi makes it sound like coming back from vacation. Jedi was out at he was in Hawaii, on Kauai, because it's the simpler island,
Right.
doing some yoga and stuff, and now he's back. The Jedi has returned, and he's relaxed and ready to go.
What was they were at that casino planet. I don't remember the name of it.
Oh, yeah.
Kombatu or
Cisnero, yeah. Like our friend Tracy Cisneros.
Yeah, she's named after a planet. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I could have remembered it, but now I can't.
Cantor. Cantobite.
Cantobite.
Ah, I was close. I knew I was close. That's my old man brain working.
Do the Cenobites go to Cantobite?
Oh, they do. They gamble there all the time.
Really?
And they work on their tans.
Oh, it's so glorious, yeah.
All right, well, take yourself back to 1983. March 9th, the 3D printer is invented by Chuck Hull.
Nice.
All of him.
Okay. Is that W-H-O-L-E?
Yes,
Hull?
W-H-O-L-E.
Wow, I didn't know the 3D printer was made all the way back then.
April 4th, the Space Shuttle Challenger is launched on its maiden voyage, STS-6.
Nice.
Yep. In May 6th, Stern Magazine publishes the Hitler Diaries, which are later found to be forgeries.
Interesting.
And
I just got to say, no murder, no death.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's not... Return of the Jedi was not really about murder and death.
Well, I'm just saying is usually we have really bad things going on, and like two of these things are awesome.
They're related to the actual thing we're talking about. Like space shuttles?
Yeah. Well, how does... Just out of curiosity, is Hitler like the Empire?
Yeah. He's like the Palpatine.
Nice.
Yeah. May 25th, Return of the Jedi premieres.
Nice. That wasn't in Hitler's diary. That's right, baby. 40 years ago, almost to the day,
Yeah.
Jedi came out.
40 years ago, you were anticipating. It was a week away, and you're like,
Oh, man, I was losing my shit. I was losing my mind.
I can't imagine. The wait between New Hope and Empire was bad enough, but the way Empire ends, and it's this big cliffhanger of like, what?
No, it was... You didn't know what to... The beauty of it was... You had Star Wars, which just blew your mind out of the water.
Yeah.
100%. Didn't know it was coming. Came by, changed your life. Boom, bang, boom, boom, boom.
Bing, bang, boom.
So then you find out, oh, there's going to be a sequel. Awesome. Okay, you're excited, but it's not like, you're like, oh, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? And you're really excited. And that comes out, and that blows your mind because it's bigger and
better, amazing, deeper.
Sure. I mean, there's just
more
so much
intense.
more going on.
Yeah.
There's Wampas and Cloud Cities and Bespins.
People declaring their people's fathers.
Yeah, and people being daddies.
Daddies.
Baby daddies. But yes, we talked about it last week where I didn't think I thought we were going to get a proper ending.
Right.
Or at least, and then when it ended, it was just so shocking. And yes, the 3 years waiting for this. What's going to happen to Han Solo? What's going to, you're worried about your buddies.
He's in carbonite. Yeah.
Acho. That's Princess Leia in her little costume.
Oh, that's okay. I was like, what?
But yeah, so I remember the day being in school. Ants in my pants.
Oh, yeah.
I was at
yeah.
Grace Lutheran.
Gotta go.
Grace Lutheran Middle School. And my friends and I were going to get picked up, go right to the theater. And here's what we did. We had a great plan. Back then, I had really good eyes. Eagle eyes.
Eagle
baby.
eyes, yeah.
So what we would
2010
do...
vision.
Sure. Is that good?
Yes, it's better than 2020.
I had 1,000 visions.
No, that's bad.
Okay. But what we would do is, because everybody's, let's get to the middle, and everybody's fighting for seats, we jam right to the back, back middle, and then, as soon as the lights go down, we pop up, sitting on the back of the seat,
right,
leaning against the wall, head and shoulders above everybody.
Right. So you could see everything.
Oh, no heads blocking us, baby.
Nice.
Because there was no stadium seating back then.
Right.
If you were short, you were effed.
Yeah. Especially way in the back, yeah. It was
So
bad.
sitting up there, and we were back enough that they couldn't see us sitting back there.
Right.
And
Nobody would come in and yell at you.
no. And even if they did come in, they usually didn't see us because we were in the back
Right.
or whatever. So it was the perfect way to watch the movie. Probably not the most comfortable way, but when you're just a little kid, you don't care.
No, you just want to see the movie.
Oh, man. And it was just from beginning to end. It was just again.
Yes, yeah.
The beauty of both of these situations is they didn't disappoint.
Right.
You didn't leave the theater like, damn it, I wish they would have done this, and this.
Right.
We weren't reviewing the movies we wanted to see back then.
Yeah.
We were happy. We got what we got. We were happy about it.
Unfortunately, that was the very last time that ever happened.
Yes, it was. It was the last time we had any bliss over
Yeah.
a trilogy. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing. And again, I just wanted to go. I think we might have gone twice the first day.
Oh, really?
Might have gone right after.
Just gone again?
Yeah, because it was
Did you jump in, or however they call it? Like, did you not get a ticket for the second one? Like,
we
hang
had
out
to. No,
and-
you
oh,
couldn't.
okay.
You couldn't do that for that. They were very strict about
Yeah.
that. You couldn't theater hop, as it were.
Yeah, that actually got more strict too, because when I saw episode 1, they were playing the movie every 20 minutes, and I bought a ticket for like a 10:40 in the morning, and then my friend didn't show up on time, so I tried to transfer it to the 11, and they refused to exchange the ticket,
Goodness.
as per George Lucas's instructions, according to the box office person.
Well, it was my idea.
I was so mad I almost left, and then my buddy Damien, bless his heart, bought me a ticket, and then I sat through the whole movie just hating it.
I know. Well, that was my
Well,
decision.
I hated it because I was mad, but I didn't even give the movie a chance. I was just like, this is dumb.
I get it. You get put in a bad
But it was,
mood.
yeah.
But yeah, sorry. I was like, let's put in a really strict no refunds policy, George.
No. Yeah.
He's like, come on. But what if their friends don't come up and they want to see the movie? I'm like, George, we're not here to make, it's not friends business. It's show business.
Show business. It's the money business.
I guess you're right. He always, I had to really rein him in.
Oh, he's just so generous.
He is. Actually, he is.
He is actually.
very
He's a
generous guy.
man. So, given the success, obviously, of The Empire Strikes Back, after following the insane success of Star Wars, another chapter of the Skywalker saga was a foregone conclusion.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. As with the previous film, Lucas personally financed Return of the Jedi.
They're the 3 most successful independent films ever made.
I know, it's crazy. And it's crazy to think that they ended up, I think they only spent like $30 million on this, which, I understand the time is a lot, but man, it made some money.
It's crazy. They're spending $100-300 million on movies these days, which is
the
insanity.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has a $250 million budget.
Now, is that
Production budget, not even including
not
marketing.
even including marketing?
Marketing, it probably is about a $500 million.
What? I don't get it, because most stuff is just digital.
It's expensive to do that stuff now.
I guess it was a lot cheaper apparently just to build the whole world
It was.
than it is to create it in a CGI situation that doesn't even look as good.
Well, this is how... I don't remember how much Lord of the Rings, how much he spent on the 3 movies together, but I think it was about the same as 1.5 of the prequel trilogies. But because they shot it all together,
Right.
They shot for 3 years.
Sure.
But and they build mostly practical, but it was, yeah, I don't know, man. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, yeah, most of it is digital. It's all CGI. It's all
Paying Vin Diesel $5 million to say one word that a voiceover actor
Yeah.
should probably get. Same thing with Rocket Raccoon.
Probably.
They should give it to a voice actor instead of giving these idiots that already have careers.
Oh, I like Rocket Raccoon.
Look, they're fine, but there are really great voice actors out there that need work,
That should have careers.
and it doesn't matter. The Vin Diesel thing is the stupidest thing ever.
It is. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't matter at all.
Well, there's so much emotion behind his Groots.
No, there's not. There's not.
No, there's not.
Sorry.
There's no emotion behind anything Vin Diesel does. What are you
There
talking
isn't.
about?
He doesn't have emotions.
That's literally why he was cast.
I am Groot.
No.
I am Groot. We are Groot.
Yeah, well.
Groot are we?
I'm excited to see Volume 3.
I am too.
I'm curious to see it.
I don't mean to be a jerk. It's just crazy to me how much money. And look, a lot of it is salaries and stuff, and
Yeah.
which is out of control. But yeah, it's just Return of the Jedi is a remarkably looking film.
Yeah.
Remarkable looking film.
Yeah.
For $30 million.
Yeah. It did. Yeah.
And
it
40
looks
years
great.
old.
And 40 years old. Yeah.
I mean, we were watching it. We watched. Full disclosure, we watched all the special editions this
Yeah,
time because
'cause
we
we were-
watched it on Disney
yeah,
Plus
yeah.
instead of my many different
Blu-rays and
Blu-rays,
DVDs.
DVDs, and
Laser discs.
discs and videotapes and reel-to-reels and 16 millimeters and
Yeah.
33 RPM records.
The LP of the audio production.
So we're watching it on Disney Plus, and it looks amazing. But I will say this: out of all
Yeah.
the special editions, this one, it's a little egregious. Like I get the first two because it totally improves the movie.
Fleshes the world out.
Yes.
So much more.
It smooths over some special effects.
Mm-hmm.
It's seamless.
Mos Eisley seems so much more populous.
Yes.
Like there's great things they did with
Yes,
the,
and now that the technology's gotten better, they blended it together so it doesn't seem out of place. It all seems really great. But there was a couple of changes in Jedi.
both of them very musical.
Yes, yes. I miss Yub Nub.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yup,
It's such
yup.
a good song.
Oh, damn, Yub Nub.
It's so sad that it's not there.
And
And that weird
crazy
song by Max Rebo and the Modal Tones. It just comes out of nowhere. It was too much of. He must have been working on episode 1 at the time because it was way too much of that in that scene.
it's like, good Lord.
Yeah.
It was a little much. We didn't need that much.
No, but the rest of it's fine, and
It's
it was
all
great.
great. And look, honestly, I don't mind it.
No.
I don't mind the weird alien singing. I think it's fun. It's part of the goofball part of Star Wars that people. I embrace it. I
Sure,
like the goofball
sure.
part because it's fun for kids and stuff. And people forget. We talked quickly. We talked about toxic fandom.
Yeah.
And these movies aren't for adults. I mean,
Right.
they are because we still love them
You
as
can
adults.
enjoy them as an adult.
But he didn't make these movies as dark, brooding.
No.
No. I mean, look, everybody thought that Empire was too dark, and it's like, come on, man. That's
Jedi
not-
wasn't dark. It was.
Jedi wasn't dark at all.
No. I mean, you had a lot of emotional moments between Luke and his dad, and like
Luke and Leia,
and Leia, and this
Leia
stuff.
and
But it
Han.
was all important,
Right.
It was important for the characters. It was important for the story, and it wasn't egregiously dark.
No, it
wasn't.
wasn't. It was so much fun. And the one thing about this, being able to watch all three movies pretty close together
Yeah,
as we did,
yeah.
it's really fun to watch the evolution of the friendships.
Right.
You see,
Yeah.
when Han wakes up, and Chewie's like, Luke thinks he's a Jedi. No, I'm out for a weekend, and everybody gets delusions of grandeur. and then when Luke's like, I was born on here, Oh, you're gonna die on here, I mean, it was just fun. They just have such a fun, playful,
Yeah.
family vibe to them that is so much more present in this movie than the other movies, and that they earned it in this movie.
Yes. Yeah. They definitely did, and a lot of that's because of the stuff they went through in Empire, and because I think Jedi set maybe like a year after Empire.
Sure.
Empire's supposed to be like 2 or 3 years after A New Hope, I believe.
Okay.
Something like that, around that. But it's like, it's nice to see them, they're so comfortable with each other. Like, the chemistry's so good between the three leads.
Yeah.
You know, and the three human leads, and obviously the Wookiee. But,
And the droids.
and the droids, yeah. But it's like they're so comfortable together, and it's so fun. Like, it seems very much like they all really enjoyed being around each other.
Yeah.
Not just forcing it, you know? Like, they really...
Forcing. And also they didn't separate Luke for most of the film. I mean, you know, he was taken to Vader or whatever, but
Yeah, well, he chose to go
Yes.
confront Vader. Yeah.
Yes.
But and that's the other thing too, is they understood that. They were like, well, like, you shouldn't, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
But what I'm saying is we had the awesome opening
Oh my God.
rescue of Han.
That opening sequence, which is like 40 minutes long, is so much longer than I thought.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's great. And then it goes straight into that where Luke goes to say bye-bye to Yoda.
Yeah.
So tired of you asking me questions. I'm going to die.
Hey, I give Yoda credit. He talked way more than Luke did. Luke asked 2 questions, and Yoda went on and on and on and on and on.
There's another Scott. Well,
What? And I love the fact that immediately he's like, oh, it must be Leia.
He just disappears. And I like how they disappear. They become Force ghosts.
Yeah,
It's
they
really
become one with the Force.
well. It's also extremely considerate because you don't have to bury a body.
It is. That's true. Let's clean up.
But you know whose body didn't? Well, we don't know.
No, he did. I'm pretty sure he only burned the suit.
Only his husk.
Yeah, because it was symbolic. He was burning the suit because it was saying goodbye to Vader and bringing back Anakin. So Lucas chose not to direct Return of the Jedi himself again and started searching for a director.
He was pretty much heading towards gear at this point.
Yeah, he was definitely becoming more of a business leader than necessarily a creative. Although he still had his hands in this.
Of course he did.
Very deeply.
But he was also very interested in improving cinema.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
digital cinema.
Which we will get to, yes.
And
Yes.
THX and all sorts of
Which
things.
we will get to, yeah. Lucas's first choice was Steven Spielberg, as they were close friends, and Spielberg just outright killed it with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
He would have been great.
It would have been fantastic. The problem was the Directors Guild of America. Lucas had dropped out of the DGA due to a conflict in Empire, where the DGA insisted that Lucas include credits at the beginning of the film, and Lucas refused, so he just said goodbye and dropped out.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And he's just like, screw you and your rules.
Yeah.
You can do what I want.
like, whatever.
It makes sense because these movies have to start and keep going.
Right.
There's no
you
room for
literally
credits.
have to go. From that beginning, dun, 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 it just goes.
Yeah, and that's it. And people don't realize that really wasn't done before that.
Yeah,
mostly
yeah.
until I think like the 70s or 80s, all the credits were in front of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only thing at the end was the end.
Yeah, but also a lot of that too was also because movies back in the day, until the mid '60s, they would just run continuously,
Right.
And you would just buy a ticket and go sit down whenever, and then you'd watch, and you knew that when the credits came up, oh, it's the beginning, and then you would watch to where you saw the story, and then you'd be like, oh, I got the full story now, and then you'd go home.
And then say the end, and you'd be like, okay, now I know it's over.
Right. Exactly.
And I can go home.
And I can go home. Yeah. Spielberg had run into some trouble with the DGA while producing Poltergeist, which was directed by Tobe Hooper, with Spielberg shooting some second unit footage. Apparently, a journalist came on set during production and wrote a piece implying that Spielberg was quote-unquote ghost directing Poltergeist, no pun intended, and the DGA investigated. Hooper most definitely directed Poltergeist, but his reputation was tarnished with insane stories that he couldn't direct, so Spielberg had to step in.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, which is ridiculous, because it's Tobe Hooper. He can obviously direct.
He directed before.
He has
and
directed a lot before.
after.
Yeah.
And also, when people say no pun intended, they definitely meant to intend a pun.
I actually did not there.
All right.
It was written as an afterthought.
All right. Was it ghost written?
It was ghost written as an by a ghost, yeah. Regardless, their separate feuds with the Directors Guild led to Spielberg being banned from directing the film.
The two most populous directors at the time
Yeah.
were both not DGA members.
I'm pretty sure they just use... No, Spielberg is a DGA member. I think they used that as an excuse of that he was being investigated for Poltergeist is why they wouldn't let him direct the movie. But it was really because Lucas was like, I don't need you guys, I'm out. They just wanted to punish Lucas.
Bunch of petty jerks.
Yeah, considering there's supposed to be a union based around helping directors fulfill their dreams,
Right.
they're failing miserably.
Yeah, it's it's like being in SAG, and it really limits you to what you can do.
Right. Right.
I mean, but they do protect you.
They do. I mean, there is benefits, obviously, yes.
I'm a union man.
Yeah.
Through and through.
Yes. Lucas approached David Lynch, who had recently been nominated for the Academy Award for Best Director for The Elephant Man in 1980 to helm Return of the Jedi, but Lynch declined, saying that he had...
Next door to zero interest. It's
which
so
is
weird.
funny, because eventually, like a year later, he would do Dune.
Yeah, Woody.
Maybe it's a good thing.
It's so weird to me that David Lynch was once a pretty mainstream director. And same with Cronenberg.
I mean, he was.
They tried to.
But, like, they were still weird, and they did weird movies.
Well, they were kind of the first of these kind of wackadoo directors that Hollywood didn't really know what to do with, but wanted
Yeah.
to tame them and make them
Right.
mainstream. And he showed he could make a pretty mainstream movie with The Elephant Man. I mean, The Elephant Man it's a beautiful film.
Yeah, it's done very well.
I mean, look, I love David Lynch. I think he's an amazing filmmaker.
Yes.
But he's a weirdo. And it would have been kind of fun and weird to see him do Return of the Jedi. But after seeing what he did with Dune, I'm really glad he didn't do Return of the Jedi.
David Lynch still, to this day, and he has been doing it for like 20 years, does the weather update on KCRW every day.
I know.
David Lynch writes in and does the weather update from Santa Monica every day. It would have been a very different film if David Lynch had directed it.
Yeah.
And David Cronenberg actually had a chance to direct, but declined the offer to make Videodrome in the Dead Zone.
There's not enough opportunities for goo.
I was so hoping you were going to say slime or goo. That was so his movies are the gooeyest movies ever made.
I need more goo.
Except for the Dead Zone. I don't think there's a lot of goo in the Dead Zone.
No.
But the Dead Zone does have the most horrifying scene I've ever seen in a film.
Yeah, the grossest suicide.
It's so disgusting.
Suicide by skizzers.
Lamont Johnson, director of Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, was also considered.
Of course he was.
You've seen Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone?
I don't know.
I'm
Sure I have. I watched everything back then.
It seems like it was a Star Wars knockoff, and they were asking him to do it because he had some cred. Lucas eventually chose Richard Marquand. Marquand was Welsh and started his career as a documentarian for the BBC. He released his debut feature in 1978 called The Legacy.
Not the.
Yeah, I know. In 1979, Marquand directed the documentary-style biopic Birth of the Beatles, which was released in cinemas everywhere except for the U.S., where it aired on ABC.
ABC.
In 1981, he directed Eye of the Needle, based on the Ken Follett novel of the same name, starring Donald Sutherland and Kate Nelligan.
I saw that.
Yeah, Lucas said about hiring Marquand,
He had done some great suspense films and was really good with actors. Eye of the Needle was the film I'd seen that he had done that impressed me the most. It was really nicely done and had a lot of energy and suspense. Just like Lucas himself.
Yeah.
A ball of energy and suspense.
so much. After Return of the Jedi, Marquand would direct until September in 1984, starring Karen Allen and Thierry Lhermitte, and Jagged Edge in 1985, starring Glenn Close, Jeff Bridges, Peter Coyote, and Robert Loggia,
Robert Loggia.
for which Loggia was nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards.
Nominated Robert Loggia.
He did not win.
I didn't win. I was Robert Loggia.
In 1986, Marquand shot the film Hearts of Fire, starring Bob Dylan, but as Marquand was driving his kids back home from his Welsh summer house, he suffered a stroke, which was brought on by an embolism.
Good Lord.
He managed to get his kids home, collapsed, and died in the hospital shortly after at the age of 49.
Yikes.
Hearts of Fire was his last film being released posthumously.
Bummer.
So sad. He is a great director, and it was sad that he was taken from us so early.
Yeah, Jagged Edge is a really good movie.
Yeah.
Until September's fine. It's just kind of a romance
Yeah,
situation.
I just want I know he was hit and miss, but like I want to see more of what he had. Like I think that he could have had a much longer, much better career.
Yeah, of course. He's only 49.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they cut you off at 50 in Hollywood.
Yes. Well, that's just women, Adam.
Sorry.
Forgot.
Lucas directed some of the second unit work personally as the shooting threatened to go over schedule. Lucas had done this on previous occasions when he had only officially been producing a film, such as with More American Graffiti and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Lucas did operate the B camera on the set a few times. Lucas himself had admitted to being on the set frequently because of Marquand's relative inexperience with special effects. Lucas praised Marquand as a
very nice person who worked well with actors.
Marquand did note that Lucas kept a conspicuous presence on set, joking,
It is rather like trying to direct King Lear with Shakespeare in the next room.
I like that your Welsh is just literally Scottish.
Yeah. It's Scottish. That's what it sounded like.
That's why his poor kids couldn't understand.
I'm having a biblism.
I'm sorry, what?
A biblism.
Okay.
That's
I like that you think his kids, who are also Welsh, somehow don't understand his accent.
They were brought up. They weren't brought up there. They were brought up in
America? Yeah.
So they didn't understand his dad half the time. But he's right. It would be difficult to direct.
Could not imagine trying to direct the third chapter of the largest franchise in history with the guy being behind me like, go ahead, you're good.
No,
you're
more
good.
like he's back behind you. You sure you want to do it that way?
I don't.
You sure you want to do that?
I feel like Lucas would let it go and then give you 20 pages of notes afterwards.
You sure that's the right way? You sure? You sure?
Again, Lucas sat down and wrote the story, then handed the script writing duties over to Lawrence Kasdan. By this point, with the success of Raiders and Empire, Kasdan had turned to directing his own work and was uninterested in writing more Star Wars movies.
Ooh, too good for Star Wars now, Kasdan. Yeah, you know what one of the great movies he did was? Grand Canyon.
Your favorite movie of all time.
God, I'm a real fan of Kasdan. I love...
He's great. He's a great writer. He's a good director.
Silverado is awesome. I love that movie. It's got
That
a
was
kind of-
Lawrence Kasdan?
Yeah.
Did he write and direct it?
I know he directed it.
Oh. Well, I mean, he probably had some kind of writing.
He produced and directed it.
Oh, okay.
He didn't...
Okay.
no, he wrote it with his brother.
Oh, because it was based on a novel or something?
I think so.
Anyway, I don't know enough about Silverado.
Great movie. I love that movie so much.
Kasdan wanted to direct Body Heat, a script he wrote, but the new Fox head Sherry Lansing wasn't sure about his ability to direct and wanted him to be quote-unquote sponsored by an established director. Lucas helped guide him through the process as an uncredited producer on Body Heat, and because of this, Kasdan realized he owed Lucas a favor, so he reluctantly accepted the writing job of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, you know what? Reluctantly, F you, Kasdan. You got your directing career.
But I get it. I mean, he
Now
wants to do his own stuff now.
Now I blame Lucas for Grand Canyon.
Well, shortly after jumping on board, Kasdan told Lucas that Return of the Jedi was a weak title.
It's a weak title. It's not a weak title. It's such a weak title.
This is a weak conversation.
Exactly.
After producer Howard Kanzanjian parroted this sentiment, Lucas changed the title to Revenge of the Jedi.
Fine. Revenge of the Jedi. How's that? You happy?
The screen.
Yeah.
I love it. You give Lucas way more emotion than he actually has. The screenplay itself was not finished until rather late in pre-production, well after a production schedule and budget had been created.
Oh, it's usually a sign of trouble.
Yeah. Instead, the production team relied on Lucas's story and rough draft in order to commence work with the art department. When it came time to formally write a shooting script, Lucas, Kasdan, Marquand, and Kanzanjian, wow, I spelled that wrong, Kanzanjian, spent 2 weeks in conference discussing ideas.
Nice.
Kasdan used taped transcripts of these meetings to then construct the script.
I'd like to hear those.
Yeah. David Peoples did some uncredited revisions on the script as well. Peoples wrote Blade Runner in 1982, Unforgiven in 1992, and 12 Monkeys in 1995.
Damn, that's
Yeah.
a trifecta of awesome.
David Peoples, he did way more too. That's just what I included. At some point, obviously when we cover Blade Runner, we'll talk more about David Peoples. But he was like a professional rewriter, like on so many scripts.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was crazy. Yeah.
Well, Unforgiven is an almost
Brilliant.
perfect script.
Brilliant, yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher were contracted to return for a sequel. Billy D. Williams, Anthony Daniels, Peter Mayhew, Kenny Baker, David Prowse, and Alec Guinness all agreed to return. The issue was with Harrison Ford.
Yeah. That was the issue.
He hadn't signed on for another movie, and Raiders of the Lost Ark made him an even bigger star.
Pretty big now.
Howard Kazanjian, who also produced Raiders of the Lost Ark, convinced Ford to return.
I played a very important part in bringing Harrison Ford for Return of the Jedi. Harrison, unlike Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, signed only a 2-picture contract. That is why he was frozen in carbonite in The Empire Strikes Back. When I suggested to George we should bring him back, I distinctly remember him saying that Harrison would never return. I said, what if I convinced him to return? George simply replied that he would then write him into Jedi. I had just recently negotiated his deal for Raiders of the Lost Ark with Phil Gersh of the Gersh Agency. I called Phil, who said he would speak with Harrison. When I called back again, Phil was on vacation. David, his son, took the call, and we negotiated Harrison's deal. When Phil returned to the office several weeks later, he called me back and said I had taken advantage of his son in the negotiations. I had not. But agents are agents.
I love that Phil Gersh makes it sound like his son David was like 14 or something. He was like 35.
No.
He works for the Gersh Agency. Like, it's not like he'd done this not before. You know what I mean?
But it ruined Harrison Ford's career.
It did. Oh my God, it did.
You never saw him after this.
So Ford suggested that Han Solo be killed in the movie through self-sacrifice.
He just wanted him to die so many times.
So badly. Kasdan concurred, saying that it should happen near the beginning of the third act to instill doubt as to whether the others would survive, but Lucas was vehemently against it and rejected the concept.
Yes. And, okay, you may say it's because of action figures and merchandising and whatever, but you can't kill off one of the mains in this movie. This is a kid's movie. These are heroes that are family and meant to, you know, it would be like killing off Jonathan Frakes in one of the Star Trek movies, you know? You just can't do it.
The movies are not those types of movies.
No,
at the end of the day.
And when we saw him sacrifice himself ultimately in episode 7, it was pointless.
Yeah, well, the whole movie was pointless, but that's another podcast. Gary Kurtz, who produced Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, but was replaced as producer for Return of the Jedi by Howard Kazanjian, said in 2010 that the ongoing success with Star Wars merchandise and toys led George Lucas to reject the idea of killing off Han Solo in the middle part of the film during a raid on an Imperial base.
Well, and it's also most of us would have just been like, okay, I don't care about the rest of the movie.
Well, I don't know if most of us would have.
Kids would have.
I mean, it would have definitely put a cloud over the rest of the movie.
It would have ruined it for me.
Yeah. Well, it ruined it for you.
Well, I'm the most important Star Wars fan there is.
Sure.
George Lucas himself told me that.
Okay. Luke Skywalker was also to have walked off alone and exhausted like the hero in a spaghetti western, but according to Kurtz, Lucas opted for a happier ending to encourage higher merchandise sales. So Yub Nub was straight from Lucas, apparently.
Yub Nub. What, George? Yub Nub. Yeah. You having a stroke, George? No. It's going to be a #1 single. Yub Nub.
Harrison Ford himself has agreed with this sentiment, saying that Lucas
didn't want to see any future. Didn't see any future in dead hand toys.
I mean, he makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is also a business.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sure it literally was probably just Harrison Ford going, oh, what if we just kill him off?
Sure.
And they're like, what? And then, of course, because it's Harrison Ford, they're like, oh, well, we got to take this seriously now.
I get it, but it wasn't necessary for them to win.
No, it wasn't.
You know, the whole point of the thing was bringing balance to the Force.
Right.
And how would his death bring balance to the Force?
No, it wouldn't make any sense. Yoda was originally not meant to appear in the film, but Marquand strongly felt that returning to Dagobah was essential to resolve the dilemma raised by the previous film.
Important it was.
The inclusion led Lucas to insert a scene in which Yoda confirms that Darth Vader is Luke's father, because after a discussion with a children's psychologist, he did not want younger moviegoers to dismiss Vader's claim as a lie.
Yes. Your father he is. Not a very good father. Deadbeat he is. Much child support he owes.
I mean, not to side with Vader on this, but he technically didn't know that the kids existed until Luke showed up.
Nobody told me.
He thought that he thought that she was killed.
Every Father's Day I waited for a call.
He thought he killed their mother while she was pregnant.
My bad.
Anyway.
I thought she died of sadness, Adam.
Sorry. Many ideas from the original script were left out or changed. For instance, the Ewoks were going to be Wookiees and the Millennium Falcon would be used in the arrival of the forest moon of Endor. Following the defeat of the Emperor, the film was originally intended to end with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda returning to life from their spectral existence in the Force, along with Anakin Skywalker, thanks to Yoda being able to prevent him from becoming one with the Force.
I brought us back, I did.
Yes, you did. I'm very hungry.
Why would Yoda prevent him from becoming one with the Force? Like, that seems
Not so fast.
that seems really ridiculous.
Ruin the entire point of the movie, I will.
They would then join the rest of the characters in the celebration on Endor, all singing Yub Nub.
Yep, dub.
Yup, yup.
Warwick Davis made his feature film debut and appears as Wicket W. Warwick, an Ewok who befriends Princess Leia and leads her and her friends to the Ewok tribe.
Good.
Oh, he's great. I love the Ewoks were so good. Especially because I was super young when this came out, so like they were my favorite.
Of course. That's the thing. A lot of people do not like the Ewoks because they're like, they're just little teddy bears. But that's the point, man. The point is these little cherubs, that seem like little teddy bears are badass warriors that defeat the Empire.
Yeah.
It's
It's like-
showing that with determination and heroism, you can use primitive tools and weapons to beat the Empire because they're what do you call it? They're
Hubris.
yes, because of their hubris, they're like,
Yes.
no, these little teddy bears can't do nothing
Yes.
to us.
It's an example of how hubristic the Empire was, and that
is.
they could just do whatever they wanted whenever they wanted.
Yeah, these teddy bears. There's no fuss.
Kenny Baker had originally auditioned for the role as Wicket, but was replaced by Davis after falling ill with food poisoning on the morning of the shoot.
Interesting. I wonder if Warwick Davis maybe put a little bit of eye drops in his coffee.
Yes, I'm sure he did. Davis had no previous film acting experience and was cast only after his grandmother discovered an open call for dwarfs for the new Star Wars film.
Hey, look here. Hey, you get yourself to work here, boy. Get yourself to work. Now go down there. They're hiring little people. Yes, Ewoks. Now you earn your keep, little man. That was his grandma. She was mean.
Wow, I guess.
She had a bizarre accent, too.
She did. Michael Pennington portrays Moff Jared, the commander of the second Death Star. Alan Rickman actually auditioned for this role, but lost out to Michael Pennington.
I did, and I lost.
Yeah, which is too bad, but also good, because I don't think he would have then been in Die Hard.
He would have been like, ow, ow, you're one of them. You're one of you're Darth Vader. And then Han would be like, no, I'm not. I'm the rebels here. Take a blaster. Okay.
Sure.
And then, no, because he's putting all the explosives up, just like Die Hard.
Right.
Oh, it would have been perfect.
Michael Carter plays Jabba the Hutt's aide, Bib Fortuna, who is voiced by Eric Bowersfeld. Eric Bowersfeld also voiced the role of Admiral Akbar, who was puppeteered by Tim Rose.
It's a drop.
Yeah, that was Eric Bowersfeld.
Yeah.
Rose also puppeteered Salacious B. Crumb, Jabba the Hutt's Kowakian monkey lizard. I was so glad that they made a comeback on The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And that they literally were just a bunch of them hanging in the trees.
A bunch of monkeys.
It was great.
They weren't all named like Salacious Crumb.
Salacious B. Crumb, thank you.
P is for Boddington.
Jabba the Hutt was puppeteered by 3 people altogether. Yeah, it was. That was one of the very first behind the scenes things I ever saw for Star Wars, was about how they puppeteered Jabba the Hutt. I remember it being like they aired it after on the USA Network. They aired the movie, and then they aired like an hour-long like special about how the movie was made.
Right.
And it was crazy that they were like there was a small person like in his tail, and then there was 2 guys, like one guy controlling the arms and one guy in the mouth and the head.
3 hours, 4 hours in, baby.
It was
It would stink.
It was apparently so hot and just awful.
Would stink. If you were the tail guy, you're getting all the farts and the stinks. Oh, baby. That is gross.
Filming began on January 11th, 1982, and lasted through May 20th, 1982, a schedule 6 weeks shorter than The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, they kind of had their S together now. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, but also didn't really learn from their mistakes. I mean, I'm just saying. Kazanjian's schedule pushed shooting as early as possible in order to give Industrial Light and Magic as much time as possible to work on effects, and left some crew members worried about their ability to be fully prepared for the shoot. Working on a budget of $32.5 million, Lucas was determined to avoid going over budget, as it happened with The Empire Strikes Back.
And Star Wars.
Yeah, both. Kazanjian estimated that using ILM, owned wholly by Lucasfilm, for special effects saved the production approximately $18 million.
Good Lord.
However, the fact that Lucasfilm was a non-union company made acquiring shooting locations more difficult and more expensive, even though Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back had been big hits.
Yeah.
The project was given the working title Blue Harvest with a tagline of
Horror beyond imagination.
This disguised what the production crew was really filming from fans and the press, and also prevented price gouging by service providers.
Yeah. You're a Star Wars, huh?
That was an aspect that I never thought about.
Yeah.
Is that people were going to be like, oh, well, it actually is $500 an hour rather than $50. You know,
They think they got that Star Wars
yeah.
money.
The first stage of production started with 78 days at Elstree Studios in England, where the film occupied all 9 stages.
Wow.
The shoot commenced with a scene later deleted from the finished film where the heroes get caught in a sandstorm as they leave Tatooine. This was the only major sequence cut from the film during editing.
Wow, I wonder why.
Well, I think in this case they learned from their past mistakes is that they actually didn't have to cut things down. The script was better.
Right. No, I just didn't wonder why they cut that.
Why they cut that scene? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it pretty much, it seemed like it'd be overkill. I mean, once the barge flies away, it's ready to move on.
Yeah. While attempting to film Luke Skywalker's battle with the Rancor beast, Lucas insisted on trying to create the scene in the same style as Toho's Godzilla films by using a stunt performer wearing a suit.
Okay.
The production team made several attempts but were unable to create an adequate result. Lucas eventually relented and decided to film the Rancor as a high-speed puppet. In April, the crew moved to the Yuma Desert in Arizona for 2 weeks of Tatooine exteriors. Production then moved to the Redwood Forest of Northern California near Crescent City, where 2 weeks were spent shooting the indoor forest exteriors, and then concluded at ILM in San Rafael, California, for about 10 days of blue screen shots.
They kept it all pretty close to home.
Yeah.
You know, doing it in the forest. That was just basically a dude with a Steadicam running around for 2 days.
Yeah.
That must have been fun.
One of 2 skeletal post-production units shooting background matte plates spent a day in Death Valley. The other was a special Steadicam unit shooting forest backgrounds from June 15th to June 17th for the speeder chase near the middle of the film. Steadicam inventor Garrett Brown personally operated these shots as he walked through a disguised path inside the forest, shooting at less than 1 frame per second.
It looks so cool.
By walking at about 5 miles per hour and projecting the footage at 24 frames per second, the motion scene in the film appeared as if it were moving around 120 miles an hour, and it is absolutely brilliant. Darth Vader's small funeral was filmed at Skywalker Ranch.
I only want a small funeral. Nothing big. Not the whole galaxy or anything. Just some family and friends.
Make sure you cremate me.
Make sure
Although he
to
wasn't-
knock on the helmet first. Make sure I'm actually dead.
He would be gone, though. He became one of the Force. He's not even there anymore.
Maybe give me a little bell, and if you hear it ringing, put out the fire.
So Harrison Ford altered some scenes during the shoot, causing Billy D. Williams to forget some of his lines, which was a source of frustration for Marquand, the director.
Yeah.
I can imagine he would be mad.
Come on, Harrison. You're making me forget all about Chewbacca. Better change these lines.
Marquand and Anthony Daniels also clashed somewhat, leading to the latter recording his ADR with Lucas instead.
I'll only do it with George, not with Marquand.
I'm going to say, the one thing I think I've learned from these 3 episodes of doing Star Wars is that apparently Anthony Daniels is kind of a dick.
Well, okay. Let's give Anthony Daniels also has to be in a pinchy metal suit in either 1,000-degree weather or 0-degree weather. I mean, the guy, I would say probably had the most uncomfortable costume, except for maybe Kenny Baker having to be in a trash can for, you know.
He actually was a foot taller before the Star Wars started filming, and then they shrunk him down.
Ah, poor Kenny.
Stick him inside R2-D2.
No, I'm smaller now.
It's not. The thing is that Anthony Daniels there's probably 1,000 people that would have loved to do C-3PO.
Sure.
And he was playing that character in more Star Wars properties than any other actor.
Yes.
He did all this voiceover. He's been in all these video games. He's done all this stuff. His entire career was because of Star Wars.
It is actually just one roll.
And it seemed like he was a little too close to C-3PO and being
Maybe.
kind of a douchebag.
Well, I think we've proven that I could take over.
You could.
for
You
Anthony
do
Daniels.
Anthony Daniels very well. You do C-3PO very well. Sorry, not Anthony
Human
Daniels.
cyborg relations.
It was good. That's good. That's good. While Lucasfilm was testing the film in a commercial theater, Lucas and his employees could not hear many of the sound effects they had mixed. For instance, during one of the classic Princess Leia scenes, her theme was nowhere to be heard.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on. Do you guys not hear it? I don't hear it. Do you not? I don't hear the theme.
That is literally a recording of George Lucas from that.
Yep, don't hear it, George. You're absolutely right.
No, no. The timeless soundtrack and sound effects that made Star Wars so memorable were not there. To make matters worse, the background noise in the theater became so bad that it muffled the majority of the sound from the film when it was played through the theater's commercial sound system. What background noise are they referring to? The people watching the movie?
Yes. They're
Why
saying that.
is anybody saying anything during the movie?
Well, maybe they're munching and chomping and rustling and slurping.
Popcorn does get
Sipping
really
their cokes,
loud.
eating their weenies.
Sniffing their cokes.
Yeah, baby. It was, well, yeah, it was the 80s.
It was 83.
All of this cocaine usage, I can't hear the theme.
Can't hear it. That's all I can hear.
This movie's really great. I can't hear a thing.
So many theaters at the time had poor room acoustics with mono surround sound, which is awful and hard to think of. I can't imagine how bad the sound was back then.
Honestly, mono surround sound is an oxymoron, is it not? Because it's only mono sound. It's one channel, so you can't surround one channel.
I mean, unless it's the
Cat agrees.
Cat agrees. Unless it's one track that goes through all. Like, just all of them. So, I mean, technically it's surrounding you, but it's like, it's all the same.
But it's not even stereo. It's just mono.
I don't know.
It was awful. It's like when I was in Costa Rica, I went to see Cliffhanger in the theater.
Yeah.
Theater with quoties. And they had literally two stereo speakers, like a crappy 80s, like rack stereo.
Right.
On either side, you could see the speaker wire,
Well, of course.
going to the thing. Because they didn't care, because it was it had subtitles. They didn't care about the sound.
Right.
So it was just like, it was the worst I have ever. The theater was fine, but the sound was just like.
I would argue it's the best Sylvester Stallone's ever heard.
It was his best acting ever.
Lucas would solve the problem by assuring that the theaters that played his movies would project all of the intended sound he heard during the mix. Therefore, he decided to create a new company called THX.
Yeah, baby.
It was the first time I ever heard that. It was like, how is this happening?
All of us. All
was
of it.
so weird.
It just changed. Look, as a burgeoning cinephile, and going through all of these changes of cinema, like we grew up through the evolution of movies.
Yeah.
We went through mono sound and ripped up screens and clickety-clackety projectors to this smooth digital, immersive experience that we have today.
I mean, honestly,
And we have Lucas to thank for
his invention, his creation of THX was, from what I can recall, the first major progression forward with audio since they literally started making talkies.
Definitely.
Like 55 years prior.
Just like every independent film production I've ever worked on, they take sound for granted back then. And
everybody did. It was sad, yeah.
And it didn't really matter because you had maybe 3 tracks. You had a dialogue track and a music track and a sound effects track for most movies.
Yeah.
But this, he wanted things coming from side to side in an immersive experience. And I believe the theater that Return of the Jedi I saw in was retrofitted for THX.
Oh, really?
By the time that it came out.
Right.
And it was night. I mean, it was just like
it is.
Your butt just.
Well, it's like the hearing something behind you to your right. You're like, what? What?
Yeah.
What was?
It was so great.
Yeah. I remember first time hearing surround. And getting used to it, and especially when it was in people's houses.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'd always think that there was it was like, was that intentional? Like, is that a noise that was part of the soundtrack? Or is that the house settling over there?
I've always been a technophile. I think I inherited that from my biological father.
Yeah.
He was also a gadget
All
guy.
about the yeah.
And I've always been an early adopter. And I remember in college going to this stereo store and seeing one of the first surround receivers.
Oh, yeah.
And just being like,
It was like 8 feet tall.
no, it was little.
yeah.
Whatever speakers, but it was like I had to have that because it had, you can listen to it like it's in a church, or it had all those different,
the little settings. Yeah,
it just basically tremolo and vibrato, but it was it changed everything, and sound to me has always been just as important as the visuals in terms of watching a movie, and in here we've got like the quote unquote Atmos.
Yeah,
but it's it's a soundbar Atmos, so it's
right. It's not true Atmos, but
more
it's still
Atmosly is what I kind of call. But yeah, I mean, it's just funny to think about watching the original Star Wars in a mono theater.
That's crazy. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Like, it would be awful. We
didn't know
awful,
any better.
But like it would just be hard to hear things and like
Sure.
Although now I do think that it's gone the extreme the other way, where they've overmixed stuff and it's getting to the point where it's getting harder to hear dialogue and things.
Yeah. Well, that has a lot to do with the not only the mix, but the way that they compress the sound for streaming.
Yeah.
And that screws up the mix, and then you don't get. Here's a pro tip for you. If you do have a surround system or a sound bar and you're having trouble hearing the dialogue, boost up your center speaker more. Give that a few extra pops over the other ones, and then that should help alleviate some of that.
Right. So meanwhile, special effects work at ILM quickly stretched the company to its operational limits. While the R&D work and experience gained from the previous 2 films in the trilogy allowed for increased efficiency, this was offset by the desire to have the closing film raise the bar set by each of these films.
Incredible. The shot of the space battle when like 1,000
oh my god
TIE fighters come at you. It's overwhelming, man. It's just
and the like all the Star Destroyers. It's like just a wall of Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
It's like what?
It's and flying into the Death Star, and it was bigger, better, more.
I liked how it was. Hey, the first one only had space for one photon torpedo to go down. We should make that bigger, so that way the entire Millennium Falcon can fly in.
Well, it was under construction.
It was fully operational, Jim.
The weapons were fully operational.
It was funny.
Fully operational Death Star.
And technically, Rogue One and now Andor is answering the fact because one of the guys specifically designed it to be able to be destroyed.
Yeah. No, they totally retconned that brilliantly.
They did.
Thanks, Mads Mikkelsen.
I put it in there for my daughter too.
It was great. A compounding factor was the intention of several departments of ILM to either take on other film work or decrease staff during slow cycles. Instead, as soon as production began, the entire company found it necessary to remain running 20 hours a day on 6-day weeks in order to meet their goals by April 1st, 1983.
Yeah, it's insanity. Insanity. There had never been that many special effects shots in a movie, and this isn't CGI. This is sets. These are matte paintings, hand-drawn matte paintings, which there was one of the great parts of the Star Wars exhibit, the museum exhibit that they did for a while, was some of these matte paintings, which
they're
are
amazing.
works of art. These are hand-painted.
They are so insanely detailed. It is incredibly impressive.
The shots of 1,000 stormtroopers in the Death Star, that's a matte painting.
I know.
That's not photorealistic. I mean, it's just crazy what people did back then. So they needed man hours because there were actual things they were creating.
Right.
Not to discount CGI. That's also an art form. And
of course.
And a lot of creation.
So of about 900 special effects shots, all VistaVision optical effects remained in-house since ILM was the only company capable of using the format, while about 400 4-perf opticals were subcontracted to outside effects houses. Progress on the opticals were severely delayed for a time when ILM rejected about 100,000 feet of film when the film perforations failed image registration and steadiness tests.
Oh.
That is an insane amount of film that they just go, we got to do this again.
Oh, man, I would not want to be there that day.
Ooh, bad news. Bad news.
Guess what, guys? We got perforated.
Badness. So John Williams scored the film again. We have not talked about John Williams at all in the amazing score for all three movies.
Yeah, whatever. What has he done? Who's this guy?
He's only been nominated like a billion times for Oscars and everything else. So good. All the score is so good. Thomas Newman also contributed some orchestration to the score for Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, he did.
That actually was him in a suit.
Yeah.
Singing. Yeah.
Squirt Screwbo and the Jubes. What is the name of that?
Max Rebo and the Modal Tones.
But it was just Max Rebo before, right?
Well, no, 'cause I think it was always Max Rebo and the Modal Tones, but it was just him and the two other guys. But
Right.
then they added
It was
in
a trio, a jazz
the weird,
trio.
like, long-mouthed singing woman.
Yeah. Her
Or
name
whatever.
is Layla Lips,
Actually, that's probably true.
and her friend Monkey Mo.
God. The original teaser trailer for the film carried the name Revenge of the Jedi. In December 1982, Lucas decided that revenge was not appropriate as a...
True Jedi should never seek revenge.
and returned to his original title.
You know what the trailer sounded like?
What did it sound like?
Come, see a Jedi out for revenge. See an Emperor out for control. Come this summer, only in theaters. Revenge of the Jedi in color.
Yes, in color. By that time, thousands of Revenge teaser posters with artwork by Drew Struzan had been printed and distributed.
Those were rad. They were red.
Yeah.
They looked badass.
Yeah,
Oh, I
they were,
wish
they
I
were
had one of
awesome.
those.
Lucasfilm stopped the shipping of the posters and sold the remaining stock of 6,800 posters to Star Wars fan club members for $9.50.
I wonder if I had one. I must have had one. I was a Star Wars fan club member.
It all depends on if you got in time. I'm sure there were a lot more than 6,800 people in the Star Wars fan club.
Maybe. But I was his number one fan. It was the best fan.
You should have, when you worked for him, you should have told him, why didn't you give me one of those posters?
Oh, I did. So why do you think I got fired?
Return of the Jedi's theatrical release took place on May 25th, 1983.
Yeah, baby. 40 years ago.
40 years, yeah.
Next week.
Yeah, 40 years next week. It was originally slated to be May 27th, but was subsequently changed to coincide with the date of the 1977 release of the original Star Wars film.
You know, Lucas likes synergy. Like, Lucas
Yeah.
loves things to come full circle.
Yes, he
As
does.
he said, it's like poetry, and they rhyme. But, yeah, he loves that kind of stuff, so it totally makes sense.
With a massive worldwide marketing campaign, illustrator Tim Reamer created the image for the movie poster and other advertising.
Strange that they thought that they needed to advertise this one, and they didn't really think that they needed to do...
Technically, Empire did not make as much money as the first movie.
Really?
So maybe they were like, or maybe Lucas was just like, I got to make sure I make that $30 million back.
Yeah. Well, he's just like, yeah.
Like that was not going to be a given, but you know. At the time of its release, the film was advertised on posters and merchandise as simply Star Wars Return of the Jedi, despite its on-screen Episode 6 distinction. Return of the Jedi grossed $314.3 million in the United States and Canada and $166 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $480 million against a production budget of about $32.5 million.
All right, so it did okay.
Yeah, it made some money back.
It did fine.
The film made $23 million from 1,002 theaters in its opening weekend and grossed a record $45.3 million in its opening week.
Oh, yeah, baby. I saw it at least twice.
Yeah. It definitely made its money back and is a change also from the way they did Empire, which they opened it with like 166 theaters. This time they were like, yeah, no, we're going to do the 1,000.
Well, they knew they were going to get the lineups.
Yeah,
Because it was the end.
course,
We were
of
all
course.
just champing at the bit, man. Everybody was so ready for this movie, and we just couldn't wait. The whole world was just collectively holding its breath, waiting to see what happened to Han Solo.
Yeah, well, and Luke Skywalker.
Mostly Han Solo.
Luke Skywalker.
Han.
Luke.
Oh, help your father.
It finished first at the box office for 6 of its first 7 weeks of release, only coming in second once behind Superman 3 in its 4th weekend.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Then everybody quickly realized that Superman 3 was a boner, and
We're going to go see Return of the Jedi again.
yeah. Well, 3 wasn't as bad as Quest for Peace, Superman
bad.
4.
with the weird Adonis sun god. Wasn't that the fourth one?
I don't know. I think both of them
Yes,
had
it was.
Richard Pryor.
I think it was because it was where he threw the nukes into the sun. And I think
Yes.
that's what created the sun god. Sadly, that's probably of all the Superman movies the one I've seen the most because
Hey,
it came
Soups!
out around the time when I was like 8.
That was Richard Pryor. Hey, Soups!
Oh, that was Richard Pryor.
In the Superman movies, it was. Right. Called him Soups.
The movie received positive reviews. Return the Jedi, not Superman 4.
yes.
From critics and got 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. Film critic Roger Ebert gave the film 4 out of 4 stars, calling it
A complete entertainment, a feast for the eyes and a delight for the fancy. It's a little amazing how Lucas and his associates kept topping themselves.
Gene Siskel, the Chicago Tribune, gave the film 4 stars as well out of 4 and wrote,
From the moment the familiar Star Wars introductory words begin to crawl up the screen, Return of the Jedi is a childlike delight. It's the best video game around, and for the professional moviegoer, it is particularly enjoyable to watch every facet of filmmaking at its best.
they both liked it, surprisingly enough.
They, I give them a lot of S, because rightfully so. But they did honestly like movies, love
They did.
movies.
They
and
did.
This is, when a movie would evoke their childhood love of movies,
Oh,
they
yeah.
were pretty
Yeah.
fun with
Oh,
it.
yeah.
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 There was a reason why they were very popular and
I know,
everybody
I
watched
know.
at the movies.
At the 56th Academy Awards in 1984, Richard Edlund, Dennis Muren, Ken Ralston, and Phil Tippett received the Special Achievement Award for Visual Effects.
Yeah, they had to. They had to
Rightfully
create
so,
something
yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was unbelievable what they did.
Yeah. Norman Reynolds, Fred Hull, James L. Shop, and Michael Ford were nominated for Best Art Direction Set Decoration, losing to Fanny and Alexander.
Whatever. What the F ever.
It's Fanny and Alexander.
Look, Fanny and Alexander was a beautiful film.
Sure. I've never seen it.
It's great, but it's not.
The art direction.
Return of the Jedi created
Return of the Jedi.
new things.
I know,
Doing
I
a
know.
period piece is impressive, but creating all new everything is a little more impressive.
Well, this is still at a time when there were a lot of older people in the Academy, and they were not all about these newfangled sci-fi movies.
I don't get these Star Wars movies. They confuse and scare me.
Didn't we already see Star Wars 6 years ago?
Yeah, Star Wars.
They just keep making more of these.
I don't know. Something about teddy bears?
Ben Burt received a nomination for Best Sound Effects Editing, losing to The Right Stuff, which was the only other film nominated.
Come on. I mean, I get it. Right Stuff was good, but again,
It was a juggernaut.
yeah.
Yeah.
Recreating sounds that already exist in life
look.
is different than creating.
I always look forward to my yearly viewing on the USA Network of The Right Stuff.
Well, the double feature of The Right Stuff and Fanny and Alexander. Don't forget.
John Williams received the nomination for Best Music Original Score, losing to The Right Stuff as well.
Oh.
And Ben Burt, Gary Summers, Randy Tom, and Tony Daw received a nomination for Best Sound, again losing to The Right Stuff. The novelization was released 13 days before the film was released, so you could get spoiled to your heart's content.
Yeah, they didn't care back then.
I know.
Nobody
I
gave
know.
a crap about spoiler alerts.
I know.
We had a lot more. We had a bunch of other things to worry about than what was happening in the
How
movies.
you were going to fill your car up with gas.
Yeah, exactly. Most of us didn't give a crap. Movies were just there to kind of be an escape from the
Yeah.
hell that we were living through.
There was a radio drama adaptation in 1996 broadcast on NPR. Anthony Daniels is the only actor to reprise the role.
Yes, I did, and I bitched the entire time,
Yeah, he would only work with Lucas on it.
from time to time.
John Lithgow played Yoda, and Ed Asner did Jabba the Hutt, speaking only in grunts.
Hey, look here, Han Solo. I'm Jabba the Hutt. Yeah, I'm going to keep you as a decoration. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore.
I don't understand, because there's some lines from Jabba the Hutt that are important, so if it's in a radio presentation, it just was grunts. I think they translated it, or I think they did that. Anyway, you can actually find all of these on
They probably
YouTube.
had Anthony Daniels translate.
I'm sure they rewrote it in a way.
He said he wants to eat your heart, Han Solo.
He wants to eat bantha poop.
I did not say that. You're misrepresenting me.
Of course, there was the prequel trilogy released from 1999 to 2005.
Yeah.
Lucas actually kept asking Lawrence Kasdan to come back and help him write the prequels, but Kasdan kept refusing, encouraging Lucas to make the movies, quote-unquote, his way.
Yeah, I think he was just like, I don't want to do this again. No. Actually, no. George, you should do the movies your way. Do you really think I should do the movies my way? I think you should do them your way.
I really think that if Lawrence Kasdan had helped write the first three, the episode 1, 2, and 3, that I probably would have liked them more.
Maybe, yes. Look, Lawrence Kasdan is a great asset to the Star Wars universe, 100%.
Well, and that's the irony, is that he ended up coming back and writing, I believe he wrote part of Rogue One, and then he wrote episode 7. So, like, he eventually came back anyway.
Well, he came back, effed it up with 7.
No, well, yeah.
Ugh. What did he just... He just
Just
had a secret copy of the episode 4 script. And
Yeah,
was
give me the script for episode 4. I just got to change some names.
He just did it over the draft. So sometimes there was like Han Solo. That's supposed to be Poe Dameron. I was going to call him Han Jr. I don't know.
So then there was also the sequel trilogy, which was released from 2015 to 2019, which Lucas had no part in as he sold Lucasfilm to Disney in 2012. Yeah.
And it shows what happens when you don't have a cohesive vision.
You got to have a captain steering the boat, man.
Yeah. And you have to have a plan for your trilogy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they needed to sit down and have a plan before they ever started filming anything in episode 7.
They did not handle it as a trilogy. They handled it as a film with sequels. And
Yes.
by giving it to different directors and having
that
different
was
writers
bad.
letting them do what they want. Because something by committee doesn't ever have a decisive voice, and you need a decisive voice. And that was the problem with this trilogy.
Yeah.
Is the overall trilogy didn't have a decisive voice. Each film did, I suppose.
Yes. Well, except for the last one.
Right.
But anyway.
The first one was pretty much just a fan.
This is why
retread.
episode 8 was my favorite of the 3 of them.
Same. It had a lot of interesting things in it, and
I would rather have seen Ryan Johnson shepherding the entire 3 movies, whether he directed them or not. But
Right.
it was obvious that he understood the story.
But I also think what they all didn't understand was that these movies are for kids,
Yeah.
and they didn't start there. And
Yeah.
love it or hate it, love him or hate him, love or hate the films, Lucas always started at this is for kids.
Yeah.
It's for everybody, but it's for kids to have heroes.
it needs to
and
be
people to
accessible
look up
for
to.
kids,
Yes,
yeah.
it's a great mythos, a great hero story. There's a reason why parents can't wait to share this original trilogy
Yeah.
with their kids.
Yeah,
Like it's this.
of course.
It's almost like a ceremony or something. You know.
Yeah.
You know, Lizzo when she talked about being on The Mandalorian and being
Right.
part of the Star Wars universe, and how her father almost reverently showed her the original trilogy and how
Right.
they bonded over it, and how he would be so unbelievably proud of her
Yeah.
for being in it, and how just moving it was for her. That's what it's all about,
Yeah.
man. It's like these generations of people who love these movies.
Right.
It all starts from here.
Yeah,
You know?
it's the same with Katie Sackhoff when she brought her dad on set.
Yep.
And was like to The Mandalorian or whatever it was she was filming at the time, and he was giddy. It was like he was 12 again.
There's
And
3 generations.
yeah,
Of 4 maybe of generations
on
of
4,
people
yeah.
that have been able to enjoy a trilogy in their childhood,
yeah.
and hopefully that won't stop. Let's move past the Skywalker saga. I think that
They
story's
had
been told.
they are technically.
I guess we're moving into the Palpatine saga.
Yeah, we'll see.
But
they've
I
announced
thought-
this stuff before, and it's not happened.
It's true. Look, I like Daisy Ridley. I think she's a great actor. I think I would like to see a more interesting portrayal, or a more interesting story for
Yeah,
for
that's for
Rey.
me the big thing is
Yeah.
that all the pieces were there, but the story didn't justify.
they didn't do service
good-
to
yeah,
the character.
yeah.
It was a cop out at the end.
Yeah.
and
Somehow Palpatine came back.
it was so stupid. And I'm sorry, but that's just ridiculous. It's not the Palpatine saga. It's the
It turned into
Skywalker
it.
saga.
It turned
did,
into it.
and
I
that's
mean-
what's so dumb. And the thing that just annoyed me to no, that disappointed me to no end was there was that little flipperoo, that little switcheroo double do, where Kylo Ren becomes a good guy.
Yeah,
And he was so fun and charming in that 8 seconds
I know,
that he was
I know.
that. It's like, oh, they completely missed an opportunity.
Yes.
Because that's, unfortunately, the problem is they didn't have a great definitive hero.
Right.
Ray, yes, but they wasted John Boyega. They wasted Poe Dameron. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't even remember. I just remember Poe Dameron as a whiny guy who kept getting in Carrie Fisher's face and then got his comeuppance.
Right.
And had a cool jacket that he gave to John Boyega.
Yeah.
So it's like they didn't have, and Kylo Ren could have been that awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
A combination of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker.
Right.
And we could have had him as the journey, and I think Daisy Ridley would have been amazing as the villain.
Yeah.
And we need a strong female Star Wars villain.
Yeah, I agree.
A strong Sith, They had them, a lot of them in the animated stuff. They have some great, strong female antagonists in the animated stuff, but they really need to get going on that in the movies.
Well, that's all courtesy of Dave Filoni. He's actually, this is the nice thing, is that we do have the Disney Plus shows which take place shortly after Return of the Jedi ends, like The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and the upcoming Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Between him, Dave Filoni, and Jon Favreau, they've kind of taken over the Lucas role of hey, we know what we want to do with this.
Which is great. Because
take the ride with us.
Look, Kathleen Kennedy is an amazing producer.
Yeah.
She has produced the most successful films in Hollywood's history. But she's not the perfect Star Wars producer. I don't think she sees it the way that Filoni and Favreau see it, which are as fans.
Yeah.
As they see it as wanting to create and tell stories within this universe, expand this universe, because this is stuff that they want to see.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because they want to make toys and games,
right.
Bed sheets and vitamins and cereals and soups. Ooh, Star Wars soup! I love my Darth Vader soup. But
now with matzo balls.
But so I have a lot of hope. Look, anything Star Wars is fun. I even watched some of that baby show that they had on there,
the Young
Baby
Jedi?
Jedis or whatever.
Yeah.
I watched the first episode of that, and it was cute. But Return of the Jedi was a very satisfying ending to an incredible journey. A 9-year, an almost decade-long journey from childhood to teenagehood. From it's like my entire childhood was Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky to have it. But it's crazy to think back at how important it became, to everybody. And in a way that, people weren't going to Gone with the Wind conventions and cosplay. I mean, some people were. I guess that's what Civil War reenactments are. But
yes, they're specifically doing Gone with the Wind cosplay.
Frankly, I don't give a damn. But they are with Star Wars, and so this created an entirely new entertainment concept, if you will,
of an outlet, an entertainment outlet,
but an all-encompassing one. Because in today's day and age, you could go see a Star Wars movie, then go to Galaxy's Edge, walk around in the Star Wars universe, go to your Star Wars hotel, stay in your Star Wars hotel, and then get on the cruise, the Star Wars cruise, and have an immersive cruise while you watch all the TV shows in your stateroom. I mean, you can live in Star Wars now.
It's true.
Play your video games. There's Star Wars VR now.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, and there was never anything like that before.
No.
That just became everything. I mean, if you have an interest, you can find a Star Wars product. I remember during the pandemic, I was thinking about getting a new decanter and glasses. And I almost bought this Darth Vader helmet. It was the coolest decanter. I mean, anything you could think of.
Yeah. It's out there. Yeah.
There's these great kitchen floor runners.
Right.
That if you look closely, it's an Imperial rug.
Right.
Nice.
And
it's just crazy that somebody created something that it blows my mind. I mean, now everything's like that. You got the Marvel universe, you got the Star Trek universe. We have universes, we have theme parks. You got the Nintendo theme park, you got Harry Potter, whatever. But this started it all.
Of course. Yeah.
This is it. And it is it's a culturally impactful and important event.
Agreed.
Damn it.
It was what the world needed. It didn't realize it needed it, but it did, and it's been great. It's been great.
The world and my life, it's a better place and a better life because of Star Wars in it.
Yeah.
And for somebody who had a lot of dark days as a little kid, Star Wars and the movies, the books, my figures, my guys, my Star Wars guys,
Yeah.
saved my life.
Yeah.
Literally saved my life. And there's a lot of people out there like that. And no matter who you are or what you believe, there's going to be somebody out there that believes like you do, that is a Star Wars fan, that you could get together and have a community with.
Yeah.
And
That's very true.
as toxic as the fandom can be, there's also no other welcoming, beautiful, and amazing fandom than the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah, it's really great.
May the Force be with you, MFers.
We'll be back next week. We're going to have our stepdad show. We'll talk more about Star Wars and fun stuff and the fun things we've been doing.
I am your father, Adam.
No, I am your father.
What? No. No.
The 3D printer is invented by Chuck Hull.
Hull or Hull?
Hull.
Hull?
Hull. Hull. Hull.
Hull.
Yeah, what did I say?
Hull.
No, I didn't. I said Hull.
You're saying it right now. You're saying
Hull.
Hull.
That's how you say it.
You say Hull.
Hull. For instance, during one of the classics... Classic? Why can't I say that word?
Classics.
Classic.
Well, thanks for the bloops, though.
It's me, Adam Bloop Machine Neubauer.
Adam Bloops.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Taxi, already in progress.